Welcome back to the deep dive. I hope you're ready for this because today we are strapping in for something that feels, well, hazardous is probably the right word.
Oh, it certainly feels that way.
Yeah, and when I say strapping in, I mean we might actually need protective gear for this one.
I think we do.
Right.
We're looking at a source today that really frames itself as a demolition project.
Right.
The creator explicitly states right at the top that they are ready to, and I quote, burn down their life with the opinions they're about to.
Yeah, the vibes are just, we are analyzing a transcript from a YouTube video by a creator named Ian from the channel Kirk Patty Cake. And right out of the gate, the visual language is just screaming danger. So Ian is an author, but in this video, he refers to himself as an author robot.
Specifically, author robot loin streamer.
Exactly. Author robot loin streamer. And he is wearing legitimate industrial-grade safety glass.
Which is just a brilliant bit of visual rhetoric, isn't it?
It really is.
It signals to the audience immediately that the hot takes coming up are, hazardous materials.
Yeah.
He's also wearing this pink shirt that apparently belongs to a character from his novel, Boom, Boom, Boom.
Which is such a wild detail.
It adds this whole layer of meta performance. He's dressing the part of his own creation, like a fictional construct, to dismantle the very real industry that created him.
It's very meta. And he's got this backdrop of skulls, a white cat, a nuclear explosion. It's a lot to take in visually.
It sets a tone, definitely.
But the core of this deep dive isn't just about the theatrics. It's about the substance.
Right.
Because Ian is delivering 5 specific hot takes, plus a really spicy bonus one, that target the modern writing and publishing.
And we also have a secondary source to bring in, right?
We do. We have a piece of listener commentary titled The Singular Exception to Universal Truth.
That's right.
And that offers a really crucial correction on one of his philosophical points later on, which we will definitely...
Absolutely. And our mission for you today is to really unpack these takes because they aren't just complaints.
No, they're not.
They are structural critiques. We are going to look at the tension between art and commerce, the demand for moral purity in fiction, the myths about gatekeep, and the toxicity of modern fandom.
It's basically a roadmap through the minefield of being a creative person today.
That's a great way to put it.
We're going to talk about why fiction shouldn't be a lecture, why your main character doesn't actually need to be your best friend, the double standards between indie and traditional publishing, and how politics is, well, completely rewriting the rules of creative communities.
It is a really dense stack of controversial opinions.
So let's just put on our own safety glasses and get into it. The first hot take Ian throws out there, and this is really the foundation for everything else he talks about, is about the function of fiction itself. Specifically, the difference between education and...
This is a debate that has literally been raging for centuries.
Oh, for sure.
The difference between didacticism, which is teaching a lesson, and aestheticism, which is just art existing to be art.
Right.
But Ian puts a very modern, very sharp spin on it. His argument is that fiction, especially fiction for adults, does not need to teach a lesson at all.
And he draws a really hard line between a theme and a lesson.
Yes, he does.
I found this distinction really helpful, actually. He says a theme is like gravy on top.
The gravy.
Yeah, the gravy. It's natural. It happens organically. Themes are things like love conquers all, or maybe trauma recovery.
Right. They just emerge from the story because the story is about human, and human lives have themes.
Exactly. But a lesson, he says that is completely different.
Ian argues that a lesson is calculated. It's this premeditated morality play where the author goes in with a specific intent to educate the reader on what is right and what is wrong.
And he views that as highly patronizing.
Extremely patronizing, particularly when we were talking about adult fiction. He says, essentially, I am an adult. You are an adult. Don't try to parent me through your novel.
Yeah, it creates this weird hierarchy where the author is the enlightened teacher and the reader is just the ignorant student sitting at their desk.
That awful feeling of being lectured to when you just wanted to read a murder mystery.
Yes, but where this gets really spicy, and honestly, where Ian touches the third rail, is when he shifts the focus over to young adult, or YA. Sure.
This is where the safety glasses really come on, or maybe where he needs them the most.
For sure.
Because he observes that YA and middle grade books are increasingly being used as tools for social engineering.
Right. He mentions that there is a trend to use these books to police morality or teach teens appropriate.
And he brings up a specific example that sounds quite shocking. A book called Jack of Hearts.
Yeah, he really goes in on this one. And we need to be clear about what he is alleging here because it's a heavy accusation from his end.
We do.
He describes Jack of Hearts as a book that attempts to teach students how to have sexually active relationships.
And he's not being vague about it either.
No, he mentions specific graphic acts, like instructions on how to give oral sex or how to use people as objects without any emotional attachment.
And his critique here isn't just a matter of saying, this is gross or I'm a prude.
Right, it's not that at all.
It's a deep ethical argument about the role of the author versus the role of the parent.
Yeah.
Ian posits that it is dubious and potentially downright immoral for authors to supersede parents by sneaking lessons about sexuality or morality into books for kids or teens without the parents having any knowledge.
He makes the comparison to a picture book of ABC.
That was a good analogy.
Like, if you buy an ABC book, the educational intent is totally transparent. You look at the cover, you look at the back, you know what it is. This book teaches the alphabet.
Exactly.
But if you buy a YA novel, you assume it's a story. You assume it's a narrative about a kid saving the world or falling in love or whatever. You don't assume it's a sex ed manual disguised as fiction.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It is all about consent, specifically the parents' consent. He argues that sneaking these lessons in actually undermines the trust parents place in books. He even uses the phrase hiding smut in YA book and suggests it's a betrayal of the basic social contract between publisher and consumer.
It really raises a fascinating question about the boundaries of literature. Like, is art a safe space for exploring dangerous ideas, or is it a tool for instruction?
And Ian seems to land firmly on the side that if you want to teach, go write a textbook.
Yeah.
If you want to entertain, write a story. If a theme emerges, great, that is the gravy. But do not force feed the meal.
It's the difference between exploring a difficult topic and preaching about it. Like, if a character in a book has casual sex, that is
right.
But if the book is designed to teach the reader that casual sex is the only enlightened way to be, then that's social.
And he notes that Jack of Hearts allegedly demonizes monogamy and displays misogyny toward female characters while framing this behavior as cool.
That's the lesson part.
Exactly. It isn't just depicting bad behavior. It's framing it as the correct model for the reader to emulate. That is where Ian draws.
It is a powerful point about the Trojan horse nature of modern publishing. You think you're getting a wooden horse, but you're actually getting...
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And speaking of lectures and moral purity, let's pivot to his second hot take, which I think a lot of readers really struggle, the likability trap.
Oh, this is a massive issue in contemporary criticism.
Huge.
You see it all over Goodreads, TikTok, Twitter. The idea that if a character isn't nice, or if they don't share our exact modern moral value, then the book is somehow bad.
Ian states flatly that memoir POVs and protagonists do not need to be likable to be valuable.
And he uses a really interesting case study here.
Yeah, Tokyo Vice by Jake.
Right. So Ian recounts reading reviews for Tokyo Vice on Goodreads. And apparently the readers were just tearing the author, who is also the narrator, since it's a memoir, tearing him to shreds.
They really went after him. They were calling him a douche, criticizing him for cheating on his wife, and hating his arrogant tone.
Which, to be fair, Ian admits the guy gave his own book a 5-star review on Goodreads.
Which is a bit of a red flag for arrogance, let's be honest.
Is a very bold move.
Mm-hmm.
But Ian's counter-argument is the crucial part of this.
Right.
He says humans are abrasive, imperfect, and often insensitive. If a memoir is supposed to be the truth, it shouldn't be a curated image of morality.
Yeah, it should be a brutal reflection of who that person was at that specific time in their life.
Exactly. He even mentions that he personally despises cheaters because of his own family background.
Right. He has every personal reason to hate Jake Adelstein based on those actions alone.
But he argues that you do not have to agree with a person to find their story compelling.
He brings up Russ Ressler from the book Those Who Fight Monsters, too.
Oh, right, the FBI agent.
Yeah, super arrogant guy. But Ian says, well, yeah, of course he's arrogant. He's catching serial killers for a living. He is the best.
It's about context. If you strip the arrogance away from Russ Ressler, you wouldn't have an honest portrayal of a top-tier FBI profiler.
No, you'd have a caricature of a nice guy.
And Ian is arguing that we are reading memoirs to see the world through someone else's eyes, even if those eyes are arrogant or deeply flawed.
And this is where we really should bring in that secondary source, the listener commentary.
Yes, the semantic distinction.
Because Ian in the original video makes a comment about a memoirist sharing their truth. And the critic pointed out a very specific semantic distinction that changes the entire argument.
This was such a vital correction. The commentary was titled "The Singular Exception to Universal Truth."
Right.
The listener pointed out that at minute 12:13, Ian uses the phrase "someone's truth." And the listener argues there is only one truth.
Right. Objective reality.
Exactly. 99% of things are simply true or false. So what Ian likely meant, and what we should really infer from his point, is experience.
I love that correct. Truth versus experience.
It changes everything. Because if we say it's his truth, we are validating his behavior or his worldview as objective reality.
Right. We're saying for him, cheating was right, so it is right.
And that leads straight to moral relativism. But if we say it's his experience, we are acknowledging that this is just how he perceived the world.
Flaws, arrogance, cheating, and all.
Exactly. A memoirist is sharing a specific perhaps deeply flawed experience.
And Ian's overall point is that we need the emotional maturity to read that experience without needing to be best friends with the narrator.
I love how he phrased that. We are reading an autopsy, not a dating profile.
An autopsy, not a dating profile. That is a perfect way to put it. We are dissecting a life, not trying to match with it on Tinder.
But this entire likability problem bleeds into fiction too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Ian talks about the morality policing in fiction reviews. It is definitely not just memoirs getting...
He notes that readers act as if they cannot possibly enjoy a book if the main character holds bad.
But then he points out the huge hypocrisy of the flawless moral queen trope.
I really love this part of the analysis.
He mentions characters like Isla Crown or Lila from The Savior's Champion.
Yes.
He says readers will literally root for a heroine who murders everyone, like committing actual mass murder because she's framed as a girl boss or she's doing it to gain power.
Right.
But if a character has a realistic interpersonal flaw, like just being rude or having a controversial political opinion, the readers absolutely revolt.
It's a fascinating contradiction in how we consume media. We accept stylized, extreme violence because it feels totally removed from our daily reality.
It's fantasy violence.
Exactly. But realistic social friction, rudeness, arrogance, a political disagreement that feels too close to home.
It triggers our real-world anxieties.
Yes, and Ian is pleading for compassion here. He says, understanding why a person thinks the way they do is an act of compassion, even if you absolutely hate what they think.
You do not have to like the character to value the window into their minds.
That is such a solid takeaway for any reader.
You don't have to like them to value the window. I am definitely going to remember that one.
So should we move to the industry side of things?
Let's do it. Hot take number 3 is all about gatekeeping, specifically regarding university degrees and literatures.
This is where Ian takes a sledgehammer to the ivory tower.
He really does. And we should point out that Ian holds a master's degree in creative writing himself.
Right, so this isn't coming from outside the club.
No, he's in the club, and he's basically saying the club is a scam. Or, well, maybe not a total scam, but wildly overhyped.
He argues you do not need a degree or an agent to be a good writer.
He deconstructs the value of the degree first. He says, a degree doesn't actually make you a better writer.
It just forces you to do the work.
Right. It provides a syllabus and a hard deadline. It forces you to read books you might not have read. But the real value...
It's networking.
Yeah. Having your name mentioned at a cocktail party. That's the line that really stuck. It is not about your prose. It's about who you are.
And he also notes the genre snobbery that exists in academia.
Oh, the snobbery is real.
If you want to write sci-fi or market fiction, basically stuff that actually sells to a broad audience, academia often looks down on it.
They want literary fiction, character-driven, slow burn, overly verbose stuff.
Exactly. So if you are a genre writer, an MFA program might actually be counterproductive because they are actively training you to write for a market that doesn't...
They're training you to be poor but respected by a tiny circle of academics.
That's a brutal way to put it, but it aligns with Ian's view.
And then he goes after agents.
The agent myth.
The baseline assumption out there is that an agent is a quality filter. Like, if an agent picks a manuscript, it must inherently be good writing.
And Ian destroys this assumption with just one title.
50 Shades of Grey.
It is the ultimate trump card in this specific argument, isn't it?
It really... He asks the audience, do you consider 50 Shades excellently written just because an agent accepted it?
And obviously, the answer from a purely literary standpoint regarding grammar, prose, and sentence structure is usually no.
Right. It proves agents will represent absolute garbage if it sells.
It highlights that agents are not the guardians of high art that people think they are. They are salespeople.
They're gatekeepers of commerce, not quality.
If a book smells like money, the agent will absolutely take it. If a book is a true literary masterpiece, but it's hard to sell in the current market, the agent will likely pass.
Ian suggests that success in traditional publishing is often 90% luck and networking, and maybe 10% skill.
It is a very humbling, arguably depressing reality check for aspiring writers who think landing an agent is a magic ticket to validation.
Yeah, just because you have an agent doesn't mean you're a genius, and just because you don't have one doesn't mean your work is bad.
It definitely knocks the pedestal right out from under the traditional path.
And that leads perfectly into his fourth hot take, which is all about the double standard between indie publishing and traditional publishing.
This is where Ian's us versus them mentality really shines through.
He clearly sees himself as a defender of the indie author. His core argument here is that indie or self-published books are judged by a completely different set of rules than traditionally published books.
Let's talk about the book covers first.
Okay.
He mentions that indies are constantly mocked for having 3D model cover or looking like, well, he says porn.
Which, to be fair to the critics, if you browse certain genres on the Kindle store, you know exactly what he is talking about.
Oh, absolutely. Those uncanny valley 3D renders,
Yeah.
they definitely exist.
Yeah.
But his counterpoint to that is actually devastating. He says, look at the traditional shelves.
Right.
Many of those covers are incredibly basic. A solid color background with some text, or just a generic stock photo of a landscape.
Yet because it has a Penguin or HarperCollins logo printed on the spine, nobody calls it amateur.
We all just blindly accept it as minimalist design.
It's totally the halo effect of the brand. If a big publisher does it, it's an artistic choice. If an indie does it, it's just low budget.
Right. But the bigger issue he brings up is the text itself, the quality.
Yeah, the editing double stand.
Readers will drag an indie author over the coals for a single type. They will immediately say, this clearly wasn't edited, it's so unprofessional.
But Ian brings receipts on the traditional publishers.
He really does. He lists some egregious failures.
Like Stranger in the House, right?
Yes, a traditionally published book which he cites as having a completely nonsensical plot.
And Dahmer Detective, which was from a small press where a chapter literally ends mid-sentence.
Not to mention American Psycho.
Oh, right. He points out that American Psycho drops off mid-sentence, which people argue is likely an artistic choice regarding the...
And he brings up The Butcher Boy, too, which uses absolutely no quotation marks for dialogue.
Right. The Butcher Boy is a great example. It's just a dense block of text, stream of consciousness, no speech marks at all.
And critics call it brilliant, visceral, and raw.
But Ian's point, if he, author Robot Loinstreamer, released an indie book with no quotation, what would the Goodreads review?
They would say, this idiot doesn't know basic grammar. 1 star.
That is the double standard in a nutshell. When a traditional author breaks grammar rules or ends a sentence abruptly, we call it stylistic. We say it is high art.
But when an indie author does the exact same thing, we call it unprofessional or bad editing.
Ian is demanding we look at the text itself, not the publisher's logo. Quality is absolutely not guaranteed just because a corporation printed.
It is so true. We give so much unearned benefit of the doubt to the big corporate guys.
But you know who doesn't give anyone the benefit of the doubt?
Fans.
And that brings us to hot take number 5, toxic fandom.
This is a cultural critique that really extends far beyond just book. Ian targets the customer is always right mentality when it is applied to the arts.
He seems genuinely exhausted by this whole dynamic.
He starts this section with a bit of a history lesson, which I really appreciated.
Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yes, the man hated Sherlock Holmes.
He really did. He famously wanted to kill him off.
He viewed Holmes as a cheap distraction from his serious historical fiction, so he threw him off the Reichenbach fault.
But the fans, the polite Victorians, went absolutely feral over it.
They wore black armbands in the street, they harassed him endlessly.
Ian uses this to show that fan entitlement isn't exactly a new phenomenon, but the internet completely weaponized.
He talks about the financial leverage fans try to use today. The idea of, I pay your bills, so you work for me.
It's like, because I subscribed to your YouTube channel or bought your $5 book, I somehow own your creative soul.
It attempts to transform the artist into a service, a content dispenser.
Ian argues that art is not a customized burger order. You don't get to say, hold the pickles, add a gay romance.
You get what the chef cooks.
If you don't like it, don't eat there. But do not storm the kitchen and demand the chef change the recipe.
And he specifically dives into shipping wars to illustrate this. This is a huge part of modern fandom talk.
He brings up Teen Wolf and the relentless demand for Steric.
Right, the desired relationship between the characters Styles and Derek. This was a massive cultural moment in online fandom space.
Fans were entirely convinced these two characters belonged together.
So they harassed the writers, constantly demanding this gay relationship be made canon because they felt the show owed it to the fans.
And he mentioned Supernatural too.
Yes, same thing there. They accused the writers of queerbaiting when their preferred fan fiction ships didn't actually happen on screen.
It creates a total no-win scenario for the creators. Ian points out that if a creator bows to one group, say the Steric shippers, they instantly alienate the non.
And worse, once you get into demands, you have established a very dangerous precedent.
You owe the audience forever.
It is the misery dynamic, referencing the Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
The fan loves the work so much they literally want to hold the creator hostage.
Ian's solution to this is blunt, but honestly, it's healthy. He says creators should be allowed to end projects. They should be allowed.
And fans need to rely on fan fiction to fulfill their specific desire.
That is such a key distinction. If you want the characters to kiss, go write it on Archive of Our Own.
Exactly. That is your space.
Fan fiction is the creative outlet. Harass is.
It is fundamentally about respecting the boundaries of the creator. The creator owns the canon, the fans own the fan.
Mixing those two up is what leads directly to the toxicity.
Okay, so we have gone through the 5 main hot takes.
But Ian promised a bonus.
He did.
In the video, he actually pauses and asks the audience, do we have time? And then confirms, yes, we are doing the bonus hot take.
And this one is about the politicization of the creative.
This is arguably the most volatile point he makes in the entire video. He calls it the McCulture war.
The grip. Ian observes that political pundits, people who are professional arguers and not actually artists, are stepping into the arts.
But they aren't doing it to make art.
No, they are doing it solely to market their politics.
He distinguishes this very clearly from genuine artistic expression. He calls it marketing politics disguised as art.
And he says this is actively destroying local creative circles.
He talks about local critique groups falling apart because members start analyzing every single story strictly through red versus blue.
That is just such a depressing image.
Yeah.
You are in a library basement trying to share a sci-fi story you worked hard on, and someone starts screaming about politics because your main character happens to own a gun or dyes their hair blue.
It's what he calls main character policing. Ian says writers are being told, you can't have your protagonist do X because X is what the bad guys, meaning the other political side, do.
It completely stifles creativity because everyone is suddenly walking on eggshell, terrified of being coded as the enemy.
Every narrative choice becomes interpreted as a political dogma.
And Ian points out the massive hypocrisy of these pundits.
Yes, this is crucial.
They go on their shows and claim to care about the arts. They scream that culture is stagnant and that only corporate sludge like Marvel or Disney exists anymore.
But Ian says, hey, we are right here.
He gets really passionate about this. He says these political pundits completely ignore the vast world of indie creators who have been quietly making art for decades.
They claim no real art exists. Then they enter the space, crush the existing creatives under all their political baggage, leave trash behind, and destroy relations.
It's a scorched earth approach to culture.
Ian's insight here is really profound. He's saying if you view art solely as a vehicle for political tribalism, you kill the art.
You aren't creating culture, you're just creating propaganda.
And the irony is that while these pundits complain endlessly about a lack of culture, they are purposely blinding themselves to the vibrant culture that actually exists right outside the mainstream.
It perfectly explains why he calls it a grip. They aren't trying to build anything, they're just trying to sell out.
It's a heavy note to end the main list on. It paints a picture of a creative world that is basically under siege from commerce, from entitled fans, and now from political grift.
It really does.
Yeah.
But it also highlights exactly why Ian's perspective, burning his life down, wearing the safety glass, is so resonant right now.
He is fighting for authenticity. He is fighting for the right to be messy, to be unlikable, to be totally independent, and to be apolitical in his storytelling.
And this brings us right back to the author-robot persona we talked about at the beginning.
Right. We glossed over it at the start, but now that we have heard all his points, it makes so much more sense.
Why call yourself a robot? Why author robot loin streamer?
It's a defense mechanism.
Completely. By dehumanizing himself, by becoming a robot, he detaches his self-worth from the inevitable criticism.
Because robots don't have feelings to hurt, robots just process data.
If you go out on the internet and say, I think YA books are secretly grooming kids, and by the way, fandoms are toxic, you are going to get attacked.
He even says in the video, I know I'm a fucking idiot, everybody says so, but that is my brand.
It's using self-deprecation as armor.
Yeah.
If he calls himself an idiot first, you can't hurt him by calling him one.
It allows him to speak these dangerous truths without taking the blowback personally.
He is wearing safety glass, metaphorically and physically.
It connects right back to his point about the Tokyo Vice author giving himself 5 stars. Ian appreciates that bold.
He is playing a character, the idiot robot in the pink shirt, to say the exact things that a serious author couldn't ever say without immediately losing their agent.
And speaking of storytelling and characters, the video ends in a really weird, cryptic way.
Yes, the audio drama teaser.
Yeah, it abruptly cuts to this fictional dialogue. A character asking about someone named Wayland Cross and a body in a trunk.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk?
And then a voice saying the person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross.
It creates this immediate, visceral atmosphere of noir and mystery.
Cross isn't a killer. The average number of murders in Baltimore is over 300.
It's dark. It's ambiguous.
And then it gets deeply psychological. The dialogue goes, you walked in the corridor, one chose the dark.
And finally, a character screaming, where the hell am I?
And the chilling response, you're dead. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes.
I think that tiny snippet is the ultimate proof of concept for his entire hour-long video.
Oh.
Think about it. Is there a moral lesson in that scene? No.
Is the situation likable? No, it's literally a body in a trunk.
Is it political? No, it's just a crime thriller. It is pure, unfiltered storytelling that simply demands you pay attention.
You chose the dark. That line feels like Ian accepting his role.
He's putting on the safety glass.
He is choosing the dark, the controversial, the unlikable, the independent path, because the light, meaning the mainstream, the overtly political, the safe path, is entirely.
And that final line, even smart people do stupid shit sometimes. It is just a raw statement of human fallibility.
And perhaps that is the ultimate truth Ian really wants her.
Not a moral lesson, not a political slogan, just the messy, stupid, dangerous reality of being human.
So let's unpack this as we wrap up. We have covered a lot of ground today. What does this all actually mean for us as the readers, the writers, the consumer culture?
I think the central thread weaving through all these hot takes is agency.
The agency.
Ian is arguing fiercely for the agency of the author to write without having to teach a lesson, the agency of the memoirist to be unlikable.
The agency of the indie author to be taken seriously without a corporate stamp of approval on the spine.
The agency of the creator to simply say no to entitled fans and political actors.
And on the flip side of that, he is arguing for the agency of the reader.
Exactly. The agency of the reader to interpret a theme without being spoon-fed a moral. The agency to read about a douchebag protagonist without automatically becoming one yourself.
It is a loud call for maturity on both sides of the page. He is asking us to stop looking for safe art and start looking for true art, even if that truth is messy and uncomfortable.
It's refreshing, honestly. In a world that feels like it is constantly trying to sand down the edges of everything, Ian is out here sharpening.
With safety glasses on.
It's safety glasses on.
So here is where we leave you. We want to leave you with a provocative thought based on that audio drama snippet at the very end.
The body in the trunk.
Yes. In an era where audiences constantly demand moral purity, where they expect fan service, and where they want clear political allegiances dictated to them, would a dark, completely ambiguous story like the one about Wayland Cross and the body in the trunk even survive the modern hot take culture?
Or would it be canceled before it even got out of the trunk?
That is the fundamental question. We highly encourage you to check out Kirk Patty Cake, challenge your own biases about what makes for good writing, and maybe, just maybe, read a book with a character you absolutely hate. You might actually learn something.
Just don't expect it to be a lesson.
Exact. And always check the trunk. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.